Today, we are diving into what it takes to build Powerhouse with 120 plus locations. We'll chat about mindset, the people, and the key elements you need to make it happen. Welcome, everybody, to Top Rated Gym, the podcast that helps ambitious gym owners build profitable and sustainable fitness businesses. I'm your host, Andres Vujovic, and with every episode, we deliver actionable insights, expert advice, and success stories to help you grow your membership, streamline your operations, and achieve financial stability. Let's get started. Joining us today is Nate Scott, Chief Financial Officer at SolidCore, with over 20 years of experience in finance, strategic planning, and management consulting. Nate's career has focused on driving growth and creating scalable operations, guys, with innovative fitness companies. As a former Marine veteran, he brings a unique perspective on mental and physical strength, both as a leader and a fitness enthusiast. Previously served as a CFO and COO of multiple startups and subscription-based companies, achieving two remarkable successful exits. We're excited to tap into his wealth of knowledge of scaling gym businesses and achieving financial success. Nate, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andre. I really appreciate you having me. So looking forward to our conversation.
Absolutely. Nate, before we jump into the core, tell us a little bit about you and your role within SolidCore.
Yeah, so I am the CFO of SolidCore. I've been with the business a little over 3.5 years. So I was brought on board right after VMG made their investment in SolidCore. I was the first key hire that Brian Myers made when he took over as CEO of the business. And so I've been with the business for the last 3.5 years. We've really grown the business very significantly over the last 3 years.
Wow. And you have such an interesting story. You're coming from companies, they're subscription-based, fast-growing, successful exits. You have that in you that you want to come in, scale, grow, and exit. Can you tell us your story about previous companies and how that led you into the SolidCore?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I'll take kind of a step back, early in my career as a Marine officer. I think it's important to understand that that mindset and mentality that was kind of hammered into me, and then how I applied that to the business world. And it's allowed me to really come into companies and make an impact as quickly as possible. So I was one of those people before 9/11, I think back to the 2000s, and just started my career in Chicago. And I was working as an IT consultant, actually, not even in the finance world at all at that time. And 9/11 happened, and I had grown up in a patriotic family. My dad had been a military officer. And so I was really moved by the tragic events of 9/11. And so I decided to take a pause in my business career and signed up to become a Marine Corps officer. And so signed up there, went through about 1.5 years of training, was ultimately selected as what they call a ground intel officer. And so I led one of our scout sniper units in Iraq for almost a year, and then did my 4 years in the military, and then transitioned back to the business world. So that was kind of the foundation, and that kind of leadership foundation I had in the Marines is what has carried me through the last 20 years in the business world. So,
and I want to know more about that, man. You're one of my rare guests that comes with this training. Marine is elite of U.S. Navy. It's incredible training you got there, but I also want to know, what's the mindset of Marine officer that influenced your leadership style when it comes to handling business challenges?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things the Marines taught me was how to lead from the front. And so that I'm never going to ask my Marines to do something that I'm not willing to do. I'm never going to ask my employees or team that I work with to do something that I'm not willing to do. It also came with kind of just the mindset that leadership is a privilege, and it's not a right. It's not something you're due. It really is a privilege so you can serve others. And that was just something that was just fundamental to being a Marine officer. And it's just kind of carried through, throughout my career in the business world.
One of my biggest mentors is Tony Robbins. He always used Marines as an example of discipline, determination, of holding themselves at the highest standards while they're in Marines. And usually conversation is people in a surrounding set such a high expectation that you need to keep up and get yourself to. But it's also happening, and I don't know if you can tell me because you were a Marine, when people leave this environment of high expectations, they also drop the standards. And how do you, and you're one of the rare examples that carries that standard not only while you were there, surrounded with like-minded people, but you're leading with that standard of high expectations of mindset, of marine mindset, into the business world.
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
do you hold that when you're not forced or immersed in that environment? You're now by yourself, one against everybody that you're trying to put into this mindset.
Yeah, I think there's two things that have been kind of key for that for me. I think one is I think back to my time as a military officer serving in combat, and a number of our Marines didn't make it home. And so when I got out of the Marine Corps, I always had the mindset of that I've got this special gift of a future. And it's important to me to make the most of it, and that I need to honor my Marines that I've served with that aren't here and don't have an opportunity by making the most of the life and future that I have ahead of me. And so that's something that's always been like just fundamental to how I think. It's something I reflect on, very, very consistently. I think the other aspect of that is, and you mentioned quite a bit about surrounding yourself by people with high expectations. And I think who you surround yourself with is going to have a dramatic impact of where you go and what your future looks like. And continuing to maintain that high standard of who you associate with, how you build your teams, and really not allowing yourself to lower that standard is a key to success. And it's actually one of the things I think that's allowed me to be successful in the business world, is just building high performance teams and not allowing the standard to lower. Like, I have all A players on my team, and that's the standard that I've never broken away from. And so it's really helped me throughout my time as CFO at various companies.
Michael Jordan, in a book of his coach, right, he always said he expected from every player more than they expected from themselves. And he will push them out of the field if they don't deliver it. It's like, either you play full out or you're not in my team. And because of that, people really, really pushed all out when it comes to training, performance, outcome. And that's why they got results they got, because they have a lion who didn't hold anything back. And the same people got sold out of Chicago Bulls into other teams and immediately dropped the standards big time. And, people who purchased them, they were talking like clubs, like, what the heck happened with this player? Because it wasn't a player, it was a system, it was the leader, it was expectations, it was a surrounding environment where everybody goes full out. Because we know everybody can be A player in a certain place and can be a C player in another environment. So I like that you say you have A players, but it's not up to players, it's about surrounding. Let's talk about it. How do you attract them and how you retain them and how you create them? Like, where's that coming from?
Yeah, I think, that's one of like the gifts that's kind of hard to measure, or talents that's hard to measure, is like, can you hire great talent? Is great talent willing to work with you? And I think if you can quickly show that you're someone they can trust, if you're someone they can learn from, and if you're someone that's going to take care of them, they're going to be attracted to you. And part of that is through conversations with folks. It's also like your reputation. And I think I've tried to build a reputation of integrity throughout my career, because I know that as people talk to other people, and people they'll back channel you as your boss. Like, what is this person like to work with? Is this someone that's going to actually help me? Is this someone that's going to create an environment where I can perform? What does it actually feel like to be on a team with Nate? Does it feel great? Does it feel contentious? Those are the things that people really care about. And so if you can do that while also bringing on other A talent, it's really, really helpful. So I'll give you an example. So my VP of FP&A spent 13 years with PwC on their deals team. My VP of strategy was with McKinsey for almost 8 years prior to coming on board. Our head of legal is just true, like one of the best in the industry when it comes on the legal front. And so when you bring that kind of talent together, it's like everything rises up. Everyone kind of sharpens each other, and it just creates a great environment where no one wants to let their standard down because of the team that's around them. So
A players wants to work with A players.
absolutely.
They look for other players. And in my company, for a long time, we didn't have any layoffs. It was like we were proud that we can retain people and grow and so on. But eventually, there were some slackers that come around and their performance stopped. So A players got pissed off. It's like, why this guy's doing nothing? And I'm carrying all the load. I like pushing it forward, but I don't like other guys that's taking the corners and pulling back. So I almost start losing A players because of not letting C players out. Because they want to be empowered push. They don't want companies to tolerate. So lessons for people who are listening, if you have C players on board, it's your moral responsibility towards the brand and A players, either to improve their performance or to let them go.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's a rotten apple that doesn't bring the value.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I can think of there's times in my career where I made exceptions to that, where I said, okay,
We
it's
all
okay
did.
to have
Yes.
this person on board for a little bit longer. And then over time, my A players came to me and like, Nate, why are you letting this happen? Like, this isn't fair. This isn't right, you know? And so you quickly learn that you need to hold that standard. And if you have other A players in your team, they're going to let you know, like you said.
They'll let you know. And they'll also start asking you, are you a player or are you the one who is tolerating? Why are you tolerating? Should I be one who is also taking a slack in slowing down? It all comes to standard and expectations. There's a one rule I learned. If you want to go to the next level, if you want to really set a higher standards and hold yourself to a higher standards, simple one rule. Turn shoulds into musts. If you see something, yeah, I should talk to this guy, I should put him on a performance improvement plan, or I should let him go. The moment you say should, or I should not eat this chocolate, you know you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Just switch that should into must. Everything changes. Your life increases. It's not easy, but it's incredible. You cannot be Marine and should all over yourself. You're that person. There's no shooting there. It's like you are either you know what you're doing or you don't exist, unfortunately, but it's true. You have to hold yourself to a higher standard. That's why the training is so rigid.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
Man, let's talk about future of SolidCore. And I want to see where you guys are, where you're getting. Like, what do 10 years from now look like for SolidCore? It's 2034. How do you guys see the brand?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, we truly believe SolidCore is a lifestyle brand. It's a brand that is going to be here for the long term. And so that's one of the reasons that we most recently over the last couple of months just took on a new investment from L. Catterton. And so one of the, strong beliefs in us was just that we truly are a once in a generation brand, and that's going to be here for the long term. And so if you think about where we're at now, we're, a little over 130 studios across 26 states in the US. In the future, we'll be on a quick mission to get to 250 studios. I think eventually we'll expand internationally as well as have a stronger retail presence. But yeah, the future of SolidCore is bright. And where we'll be in 10 years, I'm sure I'd underestimate it. But where we're going over the next 3 to 4 years is right at that kind of 250 studio count.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible. Now, it's easier said than done. Let's figure out about operations. I know your skills are diverse in leadership, finance. You're a guy with multiple hats, and they're blessed to have you in a brand. But how do you scale? Let's talk about operations, system scaling. What it takes to get the brand 230 and then from 130 to 250.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think I've been, fortunate to find this niche of coming into companies that have grown really, really quickly from a revenue standpoint, but their back offices need to catch up, and they've realized that. And so that's often where I've been brought in by different private equity partners or other CEOs to come and help right size the back end of the company. And what people quickly realize is that when you have inefficient processes and a company is growing at 50%, 100% a year, those back-end processes just don't get, 50% harder or twice as harder. They get exponentially harder. And so unless you correct those issues and those friction points early on, you're in a world of trouble, and then they become all-consuming for you, and you can't actually focus on the top-line growth. But when I think about it, it's kind of the classic framework of system, process, and people, right? You have to have the right systems in place. There's plenty of systems out there, whether it's an accounting system or a payroll system or your CRM, that are really good and not very expensive when you're just starting out and you're trying to find product fit and you're trying to figure out what's the right membership model, who is my customer. But then you get to a point where they start limiting you and they start changing your behaviors, and you're not doing and focused on what you should be doing and the way that you need to, but the way that the system will tell you and allow you to do it. And so it's upgrading and right sizing those systems and thinking about where you're going to be in 2, 3, and 5 years and making that investment up front. It's on the process side. We all know, like when we're growing a company quickly, there's so many things that are sitting in Google Sheets. There's so many things that are sitting in an Excel spreadsheet that just kind of grows and grows and grows. And we're moving so fast and we're doing so many things and we're just working so hard to grow things. It's really hard to find the time to correct and fix some of those processes. But it's really forcing yourself to make the time to do that so that you can grow even faster and they don't start to weigh down on you. I think the third piece is really around talent. And I think there's two elements, I think two approaches you can kind of go with that. I think one is hiring for where you're going to be, and that can be tough. And so finding people that have been there and done that before, and maybe have 3 or 4 different ways of looking at things can be helpful, right? So they see an issue or problem that you're currently facing, and they've already dealt with it. And they probably dealt with it 2 or 3 different ways, and they're able to kind of cherry pick from their experience what's the best way to solve an issue for you at that moment. And when you can hire and bring on those folks and you have enough cash flow and the business is doing well enough and there's enough of a clear future of the business that you can do that, that's absolutely, critical. I think when you can't do that, it's finding really, really smart people that maybe not have that track record or experience that you can clearly see, but you have evidence in their persistence and their perseverance and just some of their day-to-day things that these are the people that you want on your team. So in areas where I couldn't bring on a top graded person in an area and I needed to go to someone that was less experienced, I look for people that like to do hard things, whether that's running marathons or reading 100 books in a year or taking 200 SolidCore classes. I look for people that have that kind of demonstration of perseverance in their life. And when I've done that, 95% of the time, at least, they've worked out and they've continued to grow with the company. So that's a little hack that I've used when I couldn't afford to bring on the best talent, to find junior talent that's really going to be successful and satisfying.
Somebody you can mold, build, and you have stamina, energy, attitude. And how you do anything is how you do everything. If somebody is willing to run a marathon and it's not an easy, somebody's willing to put their life online, be a Marine, you're leading by example. Like everything else in life is not comparable. Like I've done that, I can do this.
Yeah.
Right? I've done hard things. If you look on opposite side, especially new generations, when it's hard to do anything, come to job, their phone died, they cannot freaking drive without maps or something so excused, like the excuse is going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
Either you work or you have excuses. But I love that, like somehow recognize, and you run that through interview process. How do you find out their mentality, personality, their drive?
Yeah, I mean, you have to ask questions. It's what do they like to do? What do they pride themselves in? What makes them excited? And it doesn't have to be athletic achievements. It could be, I think I said earlier, if you read 100 books in a year, there's a certain consistency and perseverance for someone that's willing to do that and do that day in, day out and show up and do that. It's not something you can do overnight. It's not something that you can just say, hey, I'm going to be dedicated for a couple weeks and get this done. It's something that just takes that time. And so just pulling out little elements of that, whether it's from the hobbies that are on their CV to just having a conversation of what they're passionate about, I think is key.
Yeah. And since those people are a rare breed, there's small percentages of them. You got to go through quite a number of applicants who have good recruiters to find those. Because I can point people in my company who are really achievers, who are fanatics for the gym, for the performance, whatever they did. And they're usually humble. They don't like to brag about it. Right? My CTO is the guy who, in the college, 21-year-old, got assignment for a hackathon over the weekend to create an application. Professor gave him like a task. Go there and deliver something on Monday. Show me. People will make a website. People will make a little calculator, simple database. No, he used the opportunity to take the whole Twitter, translate it in a Cyrillic in Serbian language, and put in a special domain and make a total replica of the system in 48 hours. Professor says this is freaking not possible. He's never going to mention that. I barely pulled that out from him. Like, tell me one of your greatest achievements. Like, I don't know, maybe this one is. And he is incredible. There's no problem that guy cannot solve in any industry. And if you ask him for a travel recommendation, He knows how to organize his travel journey. I mean, everything he touches, he is like man of not the guy of many words, but whatever he say and done, it's like boom. So looking for the gems, young people are A players. We just need to look for them and find them. And it's a total game changer. Those are the people you have on your right side. This is the team you can go in a battle with, knowing they have your back.
Yeah.
Totally. I want to go back to the topic that you mentioned about scaling and tremendously making so much harder to scale if you didn't put foundation right. One thing resonated in my mind when you say that. See, Elon Musk said about building cars, says it's easy. No, it's easy. It's hard to make a prototype of the car. You're bringing a new vehicle to the market, has to work, has to look good. A lot of research, a lot of work being done. Referrizer is giving your gym a special 90-day free trial of the Reputation Max package. Oh my God. With this, you can get 3 to 10 times more reviews, automate everything, and even use AI to help reply to reviews, all while keeping your gym safe from bad one-star reviews. This offer is only for a short time, and it's available for the first 10 listeners of each episode. Go to topratedgym.com/3 free months to grab this deal. Because when they're asking, like, how do you deal with 500 other electric car companies they're coming up with the vehicles? Like, I have no problem with that. They're all single units, prototypes on the market. It's hard to do it. Congratulations to them. But it's 1,000 times harder to scale and make a manufacturing plant that spits out car every 15 seconds. Like, it's impossible level of difficulties that you have to solve in order to scale. Everybody can run a workout, even in the middle of the park. But making a powerhouse, sustainable, scalable, consistent, same level of service across all locations, different personalities, different cities, different states, and making it grow, it's where the real skills are shown up. It's not a battle, it's a war. It's like you gotta be on the next level. And when you're doing this, you're saying that it requires time to put SOPs in place. Our company the last 2 years did exactly that. We have places all over the place, and we started putting time. And it seems like it's a waste of time at the beginning. But the moment you don't have to teach anybody anything, you just give them a file, says go follow the process, you cashed out. You get your return on investment. When you don't have to tell people, right? It's just like, here's the process, go follow it.
Yep.
So how much time you guys, even now at a scale of 130 locations, spend in creating optimizing processes?
Yeah, we're always looking for improvement. We've never stopped looking for improvement, and that's been from day one. And it starts with low-hanging fruit. You find these 3 or 4 or 5, maybe a 10% improvement out there. But it's also important not to minimize these 1% improvements, these 2% improvements that you can get in a process, and making sure the team understands that those add up over time. And if we can find 4, 5, 6, 10 of those over time, we're going to get dramatically better. And so you have to really make sure that the whole team understands that and is empowered to find those things, and that they're encouraged and supported as they find those things, and celebrated as they find those things. And they all add up over time. And whether it's, reducing the amount of clicks that it takes for someone to purchase your product or sign up for a membership at your gym, or it's, increasing the speed that you can close the books because you're leveraging tools like Alteryx and Tableau to import data and allow it to do calculations for you each month, so you're not manually going through it. But it's finding those little things each month and trying to get better and better and better each month, and looking back on it. And so there's what the saying that what gets measured gets improved. And that's absolutely the case. And so you need to track your KPIs across your organization, whether it's, again, conversion rates for new employees, or retention rates with your existing customer base, or how many days did it take you to close the books, et cetera, and constantly seek improvement there. And sometimes you're going to keep pushing for improvement when you think like, I don't know what else we could do better, but you still set the goal and you find different ways. And when you have creative talent, you have good people, they will find a way, and when you push a little bit too hard, eventually they'll let you know. But it's okay to set aggressive goals to move the needle on things.
When you set aggressive goals, you absolutely go after different outcome. I love something called stress test. I learned that from Victor Chang's book, Extreme Revenue Growth. Really amazing book. He talks about stress test any of your department, even what's going to happen if you get 10 times more whatever load is. You have to organize, can you handle it? Which departments cannot handle 10 times more load? You get 10 times more members, you get 10 times less members. It's financial stress, it's operational stress, it's sales stress. What's happening with your business? And then you find bottlenecks, where you're weak. And then you go deeper into that. So recently, my team came to me and said, oh, we have a problem. What should we do? And I'm thinking, I have a solution. As a CEO of the company, right, you can always bring solution. And instead of me bringing them, I created a rule 131. It says, you guys have a problem. Good. I want you, instead of thinking a problem, think about solutions. Think about 3 ideas that you can do to solve this problem. Start with 3. What are the 3 options you can? What's the outcome you're after? Right? We have a problem. What's the outcome? You want to not have that problem, or you want to have a greater experience. You want to never have it happen again. You want to avoid this from ever future occurring, and so on. What's the perfect outcome? What has to happen in order to get there? And I'm quiet. And at the beginning, they're quiet, like, okay, I know you don't know, but if you know, what would happen? And 1 idea, 2nd idea, 3rd idea. Now we have 11 ideas, 17 ideas in some cases. Like, beautiful. How much more resourceful you feel when you have 17 ways to solve this problem? It's not a problem now. It's a challenge. It's a fun. It's a creative game. It's like, boom, I have 70 ways to win the war. Like, boom, I can deploy any of these or all of these. And becomes much easier to deal with. And I teach them about, it's not about resources that you're missing. It's about state of mind. It's called resourcefulness. We got to disconnect from the problem, say, what do I need to have, do, or think about it to solve this problem? And we look from different angles. Then we choose one as solution, bold it out. So it becomes SOP. I created a video, literally with instructions like this, send it to everybody, company says, never bring me a problem. Bring me a problem, 3 ideas and solution you choose to. Why did you choose it? And things start solving themselves on their own. And I'll come later on and bring 4th and 5th and 6th and 7th one as a tickling their mind. But it's such a remarkable way. And I see now in a meeting, they'll call themselves like, oh, Andre, I'll get back to you. So they know what's coming. You said something about measuring. Oh my God, that was my next question. You mentioned you were measuring conversion, retentions, days to close the books. What is the difference measuring on location level and on a corporate level? Like from the top down and from the location level up?
Yeah, I think it's oftentimes, as leaders, especially as a business gets bigger, there's a tendency to just focus at the top line. And so you can think of, let's say you're looking at retention rates, right? And you're looking at a retention rate. Let's say your retention rate is 90%, and 90% retention rate in a boutique fitness or in the gym industry may be really good. And you say, I don't have a retention rate. And we look at the corporate level, we're 90%. But if you dig down a little bit deeper and you realize that the reality is your year 1 customers, those that have just been with you for less than a year, there's only a 50% retention rate. And then your year 2 customers are like 95% retention rate. So the reality is, in that situation, you look at the top level, oh, you don't think you have a retention rate, but you need to dig down deeper to see what are the layers of the onion that are really impactful and that you can actually implement change on, right? When you look at 1st-year retention versus 2nd-year retention, if you need to focus on new clients to make a difference versus existing clients, those are 2 different problems that you can solve. And it gives you a clearer perspective of where you need to start testing hypothesis to improve things and make things better and start influencing that number. I think the same thing at like a location level. You have to look at the location level in order to really understand what's going on. Every location, every market has different things that are going on. Whether it's you're in a new development that's still heavily under construction, there isn't the traffic that you expect at that location, or you're in a very established location with tons of competitors around it. You need to understand the nuances there. So there's no, I think, easy pill that you can take on that and just look at the high level. You need to learn how to kind of break it down into levels that you can actually make an impact and change on.
Wow. Listen, this is incredible. How often do you recommend people measuring their KPIs?
So some KPIs you need to look at every morning. So for instance, I look at sales every morning. I look at memberships every morning. I look at visits every single morning. There's others that you're going to want to measure and look at on a different scale, whether it's net promoter score or employee promoter score. Those may be less frequent numbers that you look at, but there's certainly a cadence on that. And I think one of the keys too is being able to measure quickly and in a
Yes.
real time is a huge advantage for the business. If you're having to wait until the books close or 30 days after something has happened to course correct, that's often too late. If you can look at things with modern technology in real time, that's going to allow you to chart the course and correct things before they're too late. So that's an area I definitely recommend investing. And with the technology that is available to all of us now, it's something that's very realistic. So
Yeah. And my mentor, who is 20 years ahead of me, it's coming with such a senior experience. You mentioned that having people on your board who've been there, done there, and completed a process when it comes to, scaling the business. He exited 3 public companies, such a vast experience. And first thing what he does when he gets to position of executive, he start measuring it rapidly to the moment when it's at 3 times a day. And not only that he measured it, but he shared information with everybody in the company. Like what's the morning, what's the midday, what's the how, like how we are catching the numbers from the previous day, previous week, previous month. So everybody knows I'm getting measured. Lead is coming. I better close it because you have to come in afternoon measurements on my email that's being distributed. People respect what you inspect. And if you inspect it soon, we are all creatures of procrastinations and deadlines. Everybody study most night before exam. It's the fact. Everybody pushes most before the deadline. But if you have a deadline every day, they will always every day perform. So measuring it daily, sometimes even hourly, depends how crazy we got,
yeah.
is a must. And I'm glad that you said it. I was kind of expecting it, but it's better to come from your mouth and mine to the audience to listening this. Was like, okay, this is how, if you want to be a successful brand, this is how you have to do it. So I'm
Yeah.
sure
Every player needs to know
must.
the score of the game in real time, right?
Correct. Real
Every
time.
player needs to, right? So yeah.
Every player, call it exactly. So let me wrap up with quick, rapid questions. Whatever first comes on your mind. You're incredible. You love learning. You love developing businesses. I'm wondering, where do you get your knowledge from? What's the resource you can recommend? Book, podcast, conference, mentor that people can go after?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I was really fortunate early in my career to have some great mentors. But I think one of the biggest key to success was just constantly learning. Never stop learning. So I'm always listening to a podcast. I'm always listening to a book on tape. I have 5 kids at home, so my time is tight. And so just having the discipline, whether it's 30 minutes on the car to work, to listen to a book that you need to hear, or just finding those elements and being very consistent with it, I think is key. So yeah, absolutely.
Any one of the titles, books, podcast that sticks out?
Ooh, that's a good question. I try to mix it up between something fun, something business related, and maybe like a
Oh,
self-development book. There's a couple that are coming to mind I just read. One is Michael Easter has a book called Comfort Crisis, which I just found really exceptional in just so many different areas of my life. And it's one I read a few months ago, and I want to reread it. It's so good.
I know the feeling.
Another one I read this year it was by Admiral McRaven. It was called The Wisdom of a Bullfrog. And so Admiral McRaven used to be the highest ranking Navy SEAL. And he has an exceptional book that's out there. And it's not a long read. It's a pretty short read that you can go through or listen to in a few hours, but I would recommend to everyone. And then now I'm reading, it's actually a fun book that I'm
The
reading now.
Wisdom of the Bullfrog, right?
Wisdom of a Bullfrog. That is an exceptional one. And I'm reading a fun book now. It's called Finding Ultra by Rich Roll. So he's a ultra runner that's actually from Bethesda, Maryland, where I live. And it's a story about his life and his success as an ultra runner. So
Guys, if you want to know how to succeed, read a successful people books. We will find a pattern. I recently read biographies from all the way from Einstein to Elon Musk to Steve Jobs. It's incredible to see what it takes to succeed and what the mindset these leaders have to go through in order to make it where they are today. It's not easy path usually. Okay, this is cool. Nate, I got to put you in front of the questions. Like, people would love to know more about SolidCore. Where do they find information? What's the resource we can share with them to go click on the notes and find information about either joining you guys, your mission, or maybe even membership or being part of it?
Yeah, I mean, we've got, I think, one of the most effective workouts on the planet. I think we're one of the most fun and amazing companies to work for. I think if you're interested in either of those, go to solidcore.co and you can learn more about it. So, yeah.
Awesome. I want to say thank you, Nate. This was incredible conversation today on behalf of the community, behalf of the fitness enthusiasts around the world. You shared some incredible knowledge, giving us homework as well to look into it and wisdom that we can apply in our daily lives. And for you guys who are listening, check out SolidCore. Check it out what they're doing. Check it out, Nate. Connect with them. And if you like the episode, click that share button. Share it to everybody you know, people who would like to know more about that. And if you have questions for us, put in the comments and we'll look forward to communicate with you. For everybody, stay tuned, stay well. Nate, you're incredible. Appreciate you sharing your wisdom today with an incredible community of fitness people. And on their behalf, thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me. Thanks, Andre.
See you guys, everybody, on the next episode. If you are a gym owner looking to become a top-rated gym in your area, visit topratedgym.com and grab our free 30-day reputation boost. That's topratedgym.com. I'll add it to the show notes for you. Don't forget to share this with your friends. Stay strong, stay motivated, and keep pushing your gym to the top. Until next time, this is Andre signing off.